Hi, be my first DIY video, and we're going to be installing cabinet hardware. Now, when my wife and I built our new home, after it was all said and done and we had the cabinets all installed and our home was closed on, we realized that we didn't have any cabinet hardware. Called the cabinet company back and asked them to come out and install the hardware that we had chosen once all of our colors were arranged. And they told us that it was going to be upwards of $3 per hole that they had to drill. Obviously that wasn't something that I was willing to do, so we started searching and found some alternatives. And that's what we're going to be teaching you how to do today. Tools you're going to need: cordless drill or corded drill. I have a 20-volt Dewalt. Standard tape measure. And depending on the amount of holes you have to drill, a simple DIY jig may do the trick. We had a lot of cabinet hardware that we had to install. So what I did is I went and I purchased a True Position Hardware Jig. It was just under $300, but when you consider the amount of holes that I had to do, this little thing was worth its weight in gold. And we'll show you how to get into using this later. And one of the other big expenses, typically that I would shop at a big box store like Lowe's or Home Depot. But when we went there, we found out that they didn't quite have what we wanted. We wanted something very nice, but understated, nothing flashy with a lot of design on it. So we came out and we saw a lot of different showrooms, and this standard bar pole was what we chose to go with. And this is in oil rub bronze. And where we found this cheapest at is a company that we found online called GlideRite Hardware. We ended up paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $235 to upwards of $350 per pole, and that is just basically depending on the length. We have them running anywhere from a standard oil rub bronze knob up to 10-inch bar poles. And we'll show you those and what the completed project looks like here. But let's get into it. Alright, so this is the last room in the house that I have yet to install hardware on my drawers and my cabinet doors. This is the common bath. And we have basically 6 drawers or doors that we are going to install. 2 of them are actual functioning drawers. These 2 here on the ends. And because this one here has the sink, it's actually a false drawer. But we're going to put hardware on the front of it to match these 2, just to keep the look the same. And of course we have 3 cabinet doors as well that we will be applying the door pulls to. So let's get started and show you how this works. Okay, so the first step in this process is to find out exactly where you want the holes. Now I know when I'm done, I want the bar pole, with the top of the bar pole to be sitting right here. And that's a pretty easy measurement to do. More importantly, to set the jig up, we need to find out where we want the hole horizontally along the door. So to do that, we take the tape measure and we figure out that from the inside of this little raised panel here, that is a 1.5 inch raised panel piece. So 1.5 inches. But my True Position jig actually is going to set along this outside edge. So I need to figure out how far to the outside edge, and that is a full 2 inches. So to any measurement I make, I have to add this 1/2 inch for this outer rim. Okay. So as we stated here, we have an 1.5 inch raised panel. We have a 1/2 inch to the outside. So that 1.5 inches, split that in the middle, that's 3/4. Add this 1/2 inch. So I need to go 1.25 inches to hit that center line and make all of my bar poles centered along that raised panel. Very nice thing about the True Position jig. It has a nice little measurement right along here along the edge. So when I set it for any door pole or drawer pole that I want to do, I only have to set it once. And I have it set here to 1.25 inches, which when I line it up and I put it on the drawer, it's going to give me an exact placement along this horizontal edge. Now we have to figure out where we want it spaced vertically on the door. Alright, so what I'm going to do now to get the vertical position of the actual bar on the door is I'm going to go ahead and attach it. Now GlideRite Hardware, with their door pulls, sends hardware, which is a beautiful thing. It's just one less thing you have to go out there and buy. So what I'm going to do, just going to attach the actual pole to the jig. And that way we can get the exact positioning that we want out of every single drill. And there's no mistakes in brand new doors. So, we've already set where we want the holes horizontally. Now we're going to figure out where we want them vertically. So I'm going to loosen up the thumb screws, and it allows us to move the door, or the actual pole, up and down while keeping the horizontal. And I did want it just about flush with the top of this raised panel, but about 1/4 inch lower. And that is about exactly where I want them. And what the nice thing about this is it's a visual representation. So each one, once I set it visually where I want it, every subsequent door is going to be in that exact same position, because I've got this jig completely set up for this one pole on all of these doors right now. Alright, so what I've done here is I went ahead and I removed the bar pole from the jig, and I went ahead and I switched out my drill bit from a screwdriver to my actual drill bit. So we're ready to make our first drill hole into our cabinet door. We line that up. Everything appears to be perfect how we wanted it. I always am a big fan of measuring twice and cutting once, because a door like this is not cheap to replace. So now that I have my jig in place, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my tape measure and measure that is exactly where I wanted it to be. And I am 1.5 inches from the center of that hole. So let's get to it. That's my first set of holes. Now what the beautiful thing is even though this is open this way and this door is open this way, I don't have to reset my jig. All I have to do is flip it over. And my last door, six holes in about 45 seconds. At $3 a hole, I just saved myself a whole bunch of money. What we've done now is I've went ahead and changed out and put the 8-inch bar pole on the True Position jig. What I've done is I've already went up and set up the vertical measurement on here. And I got that by measuring the height of the drawer, figuring out what half of that is, and that's exactly where I want that, that drawer pole to be centered. Now, unlike the doors where I was able to use this stop, as you can see, the edges of the True Position jig don't extend to the edge of my drawer. So I'm going to have to do this manually. and figure out where this needs to go horizontally along the drawer. I'm going to do that by measuring the length of the drawer. It is a 16-inch drawer face. So my True Position jig is going to have to sit at 8 inches centered, so all of my markings are exactly the same. And that's going to be important. You don't want your pole to be off one way or the other. So let's go ahead and set that up and show you how that looks. I went ahead and I have this all set up, centered on the drawer itself. You have a little index mark here right on the True Position jig that is center. So I can take my tape, measure along the back side, and make sure I'm at 8 here. I am. Just to measure twice, cut once. I'm at 8 there. I am. So what I'm ready to do now is make my first set of holes for the doors. And I'll repeat that for the one down there, and then we'll show you what it looks like finished up. I've already got it all centered up, ready to make my last set of holes. So we've come to the last drawer. Now, as we stated earlier, this one doesn't open. So it doesn't offer me the ability to come in from the top like I had before. But luckily, all my holes were centered. So all I have to do is rotate the jig and drill from my stop from the bottom. Now this drawer is 22 inches wide. So I'm going to be looking for center at 11, which is right there. Double check. And a little bit of adjustment. Good. And we are ready. This is the final install in the kitchen. Like we stated in the beginning, we had a lot of hardware to install, and realizing that this could be done at my level, as a basic DIYer without a lot of construction knowledge, this intimidated me at first, but
I think with the right tools and the right company providing the hardware, we achieved a beautiful look in our kitchen and did it for a lot cheaper than it would have cost to hire a professional to do this. This is one of the very few non-bar pulls we used, basic hexagon knob. The rest of them, like here in the island, we used bar pulls, and pretty much throughout the house we used the bar pull to maintain a consistent look. Moral of the story here, folks, is that the job wasn't too big, and it certainly is able to be pulled off with the right tools and just a little bit of research on how to make this happen. So, if you like it, please give us a comment. If you want to know um, where we purchased or how to go about purchasing, then we'll leave some notes in the comments. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.